Yay!
Welcome to today's session. There's myself, Sabina Matharu, and Kusha Kalra, who are going to host. We're going to talk about launches, creating a bigger impact and income with launching. So let's just introduce ourselves very quickly and then get right into it. Kusha, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So my name is Kusha Kalra. I live in India and I am a brand expert and confidence coach. I've been helping coaches and entrepreneurs to, achieve their six figures and create a brand that will shine like a diamond online. I've been doing this now for more than 4 years, and I've also got experience in corporate. I'm a best-selling author, a certified life coach, and I've been working with Sabine now for quite some time through various collaborations and also through the book for which I am a best-selling author. So over to you, Sabine. Let's hear you out.
Awesome. Thank you. I just got myself my tea. I forgot to drink it. So apologies, but here we are. So yeah, I am Sabina Matharu. I'm a business startup and growth strategist. And and as you can hear, Kusha and I, we've been collaborating a lot. I've also authored, this is my third book now, together with other entrepreneurs and thought leaders around the world. I love collaborating, getting together people and projects. I also have a large membership site working with corporates and training and consulting company there. And for women entrepreneurs, I actually help them start and grow their businesses online. And I love everything tech, everything to do with strategy, business strategy, basically putting all the bits and pieces, all the puzzle pieces together. So one of the puzzle pieces today that we're going to talk about are actually launches. And I think first couple of questions, and Kusha, you'll just pitch in and we have that little conversation around what are actually launches, why are launches important, what are the upsides and downsides for launches and alternatives to launching. So firstly, this masterclass is for female entrepreneurs, for those especially who have some sort of online services that they want to offer. And so launches for you would actually be a great way to really put yourself out there. And I know it might feel a bit like overwhelming, but don't worry, we'll break it down and we'll show you some alternatives or some sort of easy ways to get started as well. So launches, what are launches? Kusha, how would you, what's a launch for you? Well, what does that mean when we're doing a launch? It's kind of a...
For starters, I think when it was, when I was actually starting business, I think launch was a very, very crucial part because I was still new and I was still trying to prepare myself. I was trying to understand how businesses work. And once I heard this word launch, I was like, what is it? Am I launching a rocket really? But that's just like on the fun side of it. But on a serious note, I think launches are something which can actually boost your businesses. Launches are something which can bring in the cash and bucket loads of cash, or launches could be something which could actually even be where you sell crickets. Okay, so it's extremes, but it's just if you know how to do it and if you have a proper planning towards it, then I think launches are brilliant.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, and this is where it's so important that actually we don't want to launch to crickets. And there's probably before the whole launching, there's audience building. And actually, we're going to do another section on this, isn't it, Kusha, where we are talking about lead generation and preparing for launch. Because obviously, launch is the main sort of... I mean, yes, you can think of a launch itself as a lead generation upfront, something in there in terms of a preparation, but before you launch, you want to actually build your profile. You want to build your audience up, because then, if you don't have that, you might be actually launching to cricket. That's for sure. So I'm going to talk about this in depth in another workshop, but this is really about looking at how you can get the momentum, because a launch itself is like a bundled piece of time, basically. It's a time when you are focusing on getting yourself out there and promoting a certain product. It's one product. Okay, so that's another thing. It's like lots of women that come into the Quantum Growth Academy, they want to launch a lot of different things at the same time. So this is the thing, is you are going to confuse your audience, and that's a no-no. So just focus on the one thing that you want to promote. And of course, you may have one thing, but different price points. Like, for example, if you had like an academy, like what we have with the Quantum Growth Academy, we have a VIP option, we have a light option, we have a self-study option. Of course, we can launch this in one go and then give people choice which level they would like to enter in. So that's launches. So why a launch is important, I think we kind of already covered that. It is very important just to create that momentum and open the cart and say, like, actually, you can buy from me. That's what we do when it comes to launches and doing a launch. Now, the upsides are, obviously, we can create the momentum. We can create something really special, and so that people really see us. You can be really visible, either for a one event, or it could be something like a challenge where we're going to be, doing a series of events over a course of a week, for example. It's been working really well in my business. I've done several launches through challenges, multiple 5-figure launches through that. I've also done a series of webinars. I've also done other launches, or continuous launches, so I can talk about different models, obviously. Downside, I think we touch based, Kutcha, it can be very time consuming, a lot of energy bundled into potentially even a whole month when it comes to preparing that launch, executing it, and then also following up and doing all the sales calls. So what are the alternatives to launching? Well, alternatives, there is something called like an evergreen launch or a soft launch. So we talk about this. Let's go next to the next slide. And Kusha, just interrupt me or add anything from your side. Obviously, you've been launching. You're sort of the major support person in other people's business when it comes to launching and creating all the promo materials. So you've seen ins and outs of launches, you've seen the creation of opt-in pages, of landing pages, people can register, of email campaigns, of your sales pages, right? Okay, so if there's nothing else you want to add, that's fine. Continue then, unless your internet's stuck. I know yours is a bit wonky at times. So.
Yeah, I always have my fingers crossed, honestly, when I'm doing it with you, because it's just been crazy all the time. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there are different types of launches. So here's a few things to consider when it comes to launching. You need to consider your timeline. If you're doing a really big launch with a challenge, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of preparation. You're turning up 5 days a week or maybe 3 days a week when you do a smaller challenge. But really, you got to think about how much time and energy, and also, yeah, I mean, sometimes the more time and energy you put in, the more you get out as well. I mean, if I'm running a challenge, I had a few hundred people in there, then quite most likely I have higher chance to do multiple 5 figures in that launch. Whereas if I only have 5 people showing up and I don't have enough time to promote it, obviously the chances of making a sale is much lower. It's a numbers game. So it depends on the timeline. You can think about whether you want to do it a live thing or you want it pre-recorded. Now, I think a lot of people could have a bit of a nervousness about doing it live, and they want to be all perfect. They want to pre-record a session and then send it out. So that's absolutely possible. But just think about when you are doing a live stream, when you are live and people can interact with you, and you could even coach them on a call, have a Q&A session. That really builds a much bigger bond. So, and also you don't have to pre-record and create all these videos up front, so you could just kind of turn up. And for the first couple of launches, obviously I would do it live, because then you see, okay, was that clear enough, or did they need some more information around that, or was it on point or not? And then you can always change it around, because once you've pre-recorded the videos, then then obviously you have to then go and change, and it's quite a lot of work. So doing it live especially the first time or first couple of times, that would be my recommendation. And it creates that buzz because it's like a party, isn't it? You come together, you have a live, you have that chat. Maybe you can have like, people coming in with their teas and coffees, and you can make it really, really super cool. And live, you want to make it interactive. So that's the next thing. How interactive do you want it to be? Because obviously launching by just sending out an email with a video recording is not much of a launch, to be quite honest. It's not really creating the buzz, the energy, the excitement. So, the more interactive you make it, you can even create like competitions, giveaways, and, all kinds of creative ways to actually get people showing up on your live calls. So my recommendation is to really make it interactive. Now, the alternatives to these kind of pressured, like high pressure types of launching activities could be those two, the evergreen and the soft launch. Now, but this takes a lot of it's an art in itself. Okay, the evergreen launch, the reason why it's called evergreen, it's because it's always running in the background, and you have maybe a webinar that you've recorded, and then you can just, someone can just register and watch the webinar in real time, and they could watch it in the night whilst you're sleeping, and you could make a sale, right? That's pretty awesome, actually. The downside of this evergreen sort of model is the fact that you need to have run potentially some live webinars first and really honed in on what you're delivering, and to make sure that the webinar actually converts before you can run that evergreen. Okay, so you got to do something before you can then run it evergreen. You need to test it and make sure that it actually converts. Otherwise, it's just going to be lots of time and energy wasted if you put an evergreen webinar out there that doesn't convert. And the same with the soft sell. Soft sell could be just reaching out. Like, you could be like softly putting in a call to action every time you turn up on social media and have a PS there. That's a soft launch. Connect with me, get on a call with me, or I have this available right now, you can buy it there and then, right? So again, there's an art to the soft launches. You need to create value and you need to create an audience before you can soft launch. If you're only there on Facebook or other social media, and you just always post, buy this now, 50% off this program, or whatever, people are saying, they're probably not going to buy right away when they see it. You need to add some value first. And you need to build your audience so that they are raving about you, and that they're just sort of so eager for you to actually then make an offer. So there's a lot of giving free first without actually necessarily selling, but really whetting their appetite before you can make that offer and that they actually want that thing. Okay, and there's ... because there's many ways of doing launches. I mean, there's even more creative things. I mean, different apps, we could now launch on Clubhouse. We're just getting into Clubhouse, so we can audio launch, I guess. So it's not only video, it's all your audio versions as well. So these are different types of launches. And so you got to think about what is it that you want to create. And I if I was to start, I've never done a launch before, I would do a live webinar. That's a really good one to start with. Create 1 hour webinar where you have, potentially you do like a 5 to 10 minute introduction, position yourself, who you are, and then content, half an hour content, and about 40 minutes into the webinar, you then start selling your program, call to action, and then 60 minutes, that's it. Keep it shorter and even better. And if that converts, you can then create an evergreen webinar from that. Because people's attention spans are really, really short, especially if they don't know you. I'm not sure if they're going to really watch a 2-3 hour webinar straight away. If it's a live thing, then yes. And if you really position what they're going to learn, then yes, they're going to stick with you, I'm sure. So where can you launch? And again, this is not an exhaustive list, and Coach pitching or other social media, that's the box. Just sort of, yeah, keep that there. So basically, I myself, I've been launching a lot in Facebook groups. Now there's a caveat to this, but I'll talk about this in a minute. Facebook groups, webinars, obviously we have hosted platforms, Zoom and other social media. Of course, in non-pandemic situation, you could run a live event and you can launch from a stage. If you were, obviously, you can go on to a summit, for example, like a virtual summit, and you can do a launch in a summit. You can run a summit altogether, right? A summit is, again, there's different ways to run summits. When I ran summits, I would have a number of speakers, so there's other speakers involved, and that means those other people can actually help you bring people to the summit. So if there's other speakers, obviously the spotlight isn't just on you and you doing the launch. Obviously other speakers may be also able to share some of their offers. But nevertheless, it's a great opportunity to partner with other people and to really share out that summit event. And that means actually that you can tap into their following and their audience, and vice versa as well. So I just found another one, summits. That's another thing for sure. I mean, the whole ethos, and let me just spend some time on this. This is the ethos about building other partners, because you could actually go into other people's Facebook groups and launch into there. And if you were very sophisticated, you could even create an affiliate link, like what I do for the Quantum Growth Academy. My clients can be an affiliate for the Academy, and also any other network, other coaches and people that I know in the industry can grab an affiliate link and can help me do the launch. And I can go into their Facebook group, and maybe there's an interview, you can be interviewed in their group, or you can share a little masterclass and then do a launch in there as well. And the person that is hosting that Facebook group can then share that affiliate link. So that means they would make a commission from your launch, which is fantastic because they're bringing the audience to you. You don't have to pay for it. So just imagine you could actually list a group of Facebook group admins or people that have Facebook groups that have maybe complementary audiences or complementary or things that they talk about is very complementary to your own business, right? So if you were a fitness coach, maybe you are launching a yoga program, then you go into that group. Like Kusha and I, we were working together. Kusha talks a lot about branding and marketing. So I can go into her group and talk about how to build an online business and put all the launch strategies in place, right? So that's very, very complementary, and vice versa. Kusha can come into my group and talk about branding and how to create an ebook and all that. In the meantime, we kind of try to put this all into the academy, right? So that people don't have to go to different places. But just know this is a really great strategy. The long term, the soft launching as well, is just remembered. You can always have a call to action on any of your Facebook posts. Maybe you have a podcast, or maybe you are being interviewed by a podcaster. You can always have a call to action to your program or book a call. That's long-term in the background soft launching. And you can always leave a link somewhere, and you never know, people listen to, they stumble across it. And the more you can sort of seed that information across the internet, the better. So you'd have like a soft launch. It's almost like the background work, the long-term work, the things that you don't see straight away. And then your proper launch is something that is like a ball of energy, I would say, some sort of event that you're doing and that you're working towards. So you could use Facebook groups, your own Facebook group, other people's Facebook group. You could use a pop-up group. And Kusha, do you have do you want to add something? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I believe lately we've also seen that people like to go in each other's group as guest experts, and that also allows you an opportunity to like, for example, I know a lot of people hate to do those live webinars. They are still so camera conscious. They don't want to go on the camera, but they still have a good product or a service which they actually want to launch, and then they know that there is a requirement and people would definitely love it. But to be able to uh, turn and twist the style and not do a live webinar is, go out there and show up as a, position yourself as an authority in other Facebook groups, get on more kind of, guest interviews. Podcast is also there, but then when you're doing guest interviews, uh, it's going to be two people who are, it's going to be more like a one-on-one conversation. It makes you feel comfortable, and then you can just drop your links there, have people send you a message, or, especially in coaches, if you're having a launch, you would want to have like a connect call or a discovery call maybe, or if you have, your program, your group program also, so then maybe you have a sales page where you want to send them to. So in whichever scenario it is, I feel that Facebook groups has been, off late, it's been a major platform for so many people to have like multiple six-figure launches, purely on the basis of collaboration. So I also, and I want to add this here, launches is also about mindset, and it's very important because people get stressed out, that, oh my God, I'm launching, and they are full of anxiety, and, they are either, so it's good to be over prepared than under prepared. But more than anything, it's also about, finding options where you can show up, and, you can spread the word around about your upcoming launch or upcoming program. So identifying those Facebook groups, going there and interacting with people, and then letting them know about what is it that you're going to launch, show yourself as an expert, and do these kind of live trainings maybe also. So using the platform, and using, like a home inside of Facebook, because Facebook wants you to be social, so they don't want you to be like salesy. So Facebook groups is one of the best ways, because people are all sitting there to buy, okay, but then it's up to you how you portray yourself, and how you let them know that, what is it that you want to create, and what is it that you want to, showcase yourself as. So I feel this is very, an amazing platform. And especially also because I think, Sabine, when people are starting out, they have a lot of imposter syndrome. They're so negative. They are so worried. How am I going to launch and do this and that? So Facebook groups is a great way of, having your launch successful, really.
Absolutely, and it's safe. And what I would say as well, I mean, I've launched in my free group, and also I've launched in a pop-up group. So for challenges, for example, I found that the pop-up group was more effective because people really wanted to be there, whereas in the big free group, they might have not necessarily, signed up for that particular challenge, and that they are committed. So I guess the dynamics are a little bit different, and it's something that you might want to just think about, whether you're going to open a pop-up group for a specific launch, if it is like a challenge and you want to go live in the group, or if you have trainings and workbooks going in live, then it's really useful to think about a pop-up group. And of course, you could even go and do little talks between your launches to build your audience in other people's groups on Facebook Lives and other platforms such as Clubhouse. And you can always have in your bio somewhere, or on Instagram, a link so people can actually register for your next launch. And some people actually have always some sort of next webinar. I always have something. Either I have my webinar, or I have the challenge. Every quarter at the moment, as we speak, I'm doing the challenge. This challenge is a bit more intensive for me to prepare, and because it tends to be much larger. So I don't tend to do challenge every month because it will probably burn me out. So having smaller webinars in between, or shorter challenges, obviously, you could always run something and have a link that is there. And it just, I mean, for me, mine just redirects. I have a countdown timer. Whenever I have a webinar, I put the date in. Once the timer, the countdown timer hits 0, it then automatically redirects to the challenge page. And when the challenge countdown timer goes down to 0, then it directs to the next webinar. So there's always something happening. And of course, Now you might think, okay, how when I put all this tech together, because obviously it makes it so much easier when you have some tech in place. Because imagine you could put a launch together and have the tech in place, and you put this together once and for all, like just once in the beginning, and you can reuse it over and over again. And that's really where you would, ideally where we all would like to be. And we need to have this ideally in place. Otherwise, you'll be going around in circles all the time, reinventing the wheel, and then just doing a lot of manual labor. Okay, and we'll talk to you about that as to how we can potentially help you with that, because that's what Pushpa and I do for a living. We create all these systems, and we help with the promotion, and we help with all the launching strategies. So at the end of the call, you'll have an opportunity to get on a call with us and see whether we could be a right fit to work together, take this to the next level. Okay, so that's Facebook groups, webinars hosted. Obviously, there are webinar platforms out there like Webinar Jam, which is more of a software where people then come in, like also software we're using Zoom, but it has different functions, different options, and it's more like I think some of them are they just look very have a very different feel and look from Zoom. I love Zoom because I've been using it now for a while, and probably I don't want to change that much. Also the look and feel in some other platforms, where functionality isn't quite there and you have to pay much more money for it as well. So Zoom is a really good starting point. What you want to have at some point is obviously the recordings. If you want to then create an evergreen webinar sort of funnel where people can always watch the webinar, so Zoom wouldn't have that. So there are things like Webinar Jam, which is going to make that much easier, where you can then have those kind of functionality built in. But there's also other ways we can take a Zoom recording and then create our own page, as we do. Okay, so that's the other social media I talked about as well, Clubhouse, and just getting involved with podcasts and have maybe an evergreen link, and that link always has something on where people can just register for the next webinar or a replay of a webinar or a challenge or what have you, or even for them to come into your free group, because you can then promote the challenge or the webinar or whatever launch in your free group as well.
Yeah. So I feel, again, Sabine, when we say other social media platforms, there are still so many people who love Instagram. They are, they have found so much success, by working through Instagram, doing all their live, videos over there, and then putting the call to action in their bio, and then, getting the sales from there. So eventually, I feel, there are numerous ways of launching, but eventually it'll boil down to what is your comfort, what is your strength going to be like, and how maybe if you're starting out, then maybe how much of you can say investment or cost you're ready to share, like you're ready to shell. So a lot of people initially want like a Zoom, like which is a free platform. They want a free platform to maybe put up their their lead magnets and their courses, and whatever it is that they're planning to launch. So initially maybe your focus is that, and so you would want to avoid those high tech and highly customized and jazzy looking softwares and programs. But ultimately, it will all come down to your strength, your comfort. Where do you actually find your audiences, and where do you find them responding to you the most? So for example, for Sabine and myself, we've had amazing responses through Facebook, but I do know so many other brand experts who are not existing on Facebook. I mean, they have an account, but most of their work happens, via Instagram. And then there are others who have, they have created, Clubhouse as a way to direct people to Facebook or direct people to Instagram. So any and all kinds of platforms are available, but all you need to do is, do a little bit of research, test a few platforms, and then be sure about, what works for you. And just like Sabine said, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. Whatever works for you, just pick that up and, rinse and repeat, and just improvise and keep moving to the next level, really. Yeah.
And maybe just start with one anyway. Start with Instagram
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Facebook, because everyone's on either platform. Or if it's corporate, like corporates, obviously for me, I'm on LinkedIn as well. That works very well. Yeah, just pick one platform that you think is going to work for you, because otherwise you're going to be in super overwhelmed, and potentially even create some sort of social media plan for yourself. I have a plan where I have some targets on there for every month, being featured on 8 to 10 podcasts, doing my own 8 to 10 podcasts, and I have that scheduled in to my diary. Being on Clubhouse for 2 to 3 hours a week, hosting my own rooms, going into other people's rooms, showing up there, adding value. And then I even have a schedule for which Facebook groups am I actively involved in, and which days do I go into those Facebook group posts when are promo days. So don't just go in for promo days, but also add value and connect with people on non-promo days as well. So you got to plan all of these different things in before you then go and prepare your launch. But it all has to work together. It's like little pieces that needs to be put together. So, and here is like a list that probably just summarizes what we just talked about in terms of, the preparation, and a lot of it is building your audience. So I thought I had what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring this in step by step, so I'm not going to be overwhelmed. Bring that slide up again. Step by step share. Okay, you see that, Kusha, my slide again. Okay, so
Not yet. It's still
not yet. Am I sharing now?
It says you're sharing, but then we still can't see it. Oh yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll start talking. It's not okay, right? So there we go. How to prepare for your launches. So you got to work backwards. First and foremost, you need to ask the question: what is it that you want to sell? If you're doing a launch and you want to sell anything below, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule. I've seen people doing massive launches for like $100, $200 type of smaller trainings. Obviously, you got to think about, what do you want to, what we want to get out of it. I mean, if you're doing a 5-day challenge, you can probably sell something that is more than £500 or dollars, or even 1 or 2K kind of program. You can, because you have, we've shown up for 5 days, and you have built up massive credibility, hopefully, and you shared a lot of stuff. So, you can actually really launch the bigger programs as part of a challenge. Maybe webinars, it's something smaller, yes. But it could also, I mean, I've also seen webinars promoting a 5K program, absolutely. You just need to position it in the right way. But I probably wouldn't do a massive launch and a challenge and then have a $97 kind of offer. I probably wouldn't put that effort in, because you need a lot of people buying in order to do any decent sort of numbers. Okay, it probably already takes that sort of time and energy, if not Facebook ads, to actually bring people to the challenge. Especially if you are putting money into Facebook ads, you really need to look at the numbers. So what is it that you want to sell? And obviously, and I think I'll have that next bullet point, as to you need to put a front end piece together during the launch, which will then automatically promote what you're going to sell. So it's the next logical step. If there's a disconnect, then people won't buy. If Kusha did training on entrepreneurial mindset, and then she sells a branding package at the end, she probably would have missed the mark, because you talked about mindset all the time. But she then sold a a mindset coaching program or some retreat, that would fit very well, because you talk about mindset all week long or the whole webinar. Then the question is, what numbers do you want? So what do you want out of your launch? Obviously, you know what you're going to be selling, you know what the price point is. How many people do you want to buy? There are industry numbers out there that we can share, but it feels like when you're doing a challenge and when you can be really authentic, these industry numbers seem to be too low. So you can actually even think about, you know, it could be even better. But say worst case scenario, usually 100 people register for a webinar or a challenge, you'd be very lucky if half of the people actually turn up on the day or in the challenge week. Very lucky, right? You might be getting 30, 40%. And there are ways that you can increase the show up rate by offering giveaways and reminder emails, and you can use other bots and other messages and things for reminders, and really make it, you know, fun and interesting for them. But just say roughly, say 30% show up for the challenge. Out of the 30%, maybe a handful going to buy. Usually when you look at the registration rate, it's about 3 to 5% of people buy, because they're, I call them, you warm them up. They're a bit more warmer audience. They actually know you a bit more. So 3 to 5%, so 3 to 5 people out of 100 would buy, regardless whether only 30% show up, right? But with a challenge, you have a higher chance to have people seeing you, because you're going to come in for 3 or 5 days into a Facebook group, and there's a buzz, and there's maybe a workbook, and you're turning up with smaller training blocks. There's a higher chance that people actually warming up during that week. You know, some people, it takes them a few times to actually see you before they want to buy. So it could be with a webinar, they come and see it, and then they're like, I'm not sure. They might not buy straight away. Maybe the call to action is different. Instead of go and buy right away, on a webinar, it could be go and book a call and let's have a conversation. It could be, that could be a next step. So it depends what you're doing. There may be different call to action. But what numbers do you want? So if you want to have 10 people buying from you at the end, and it doesn't matter what price point that is, believe me, because whether you are selling a $1,000 program versus just $50, you know, doesn't mean that you're going to sell more of the 50 because it's cheaper and it's no-brainer. Actually, it takes the same amount of energy to sell a 1 or 2 or 3K program than it is a $47 pound smaller program. Okay, so if you want 10 people, you need to think about the percentages. So that's like, say at 3%, you would need about 300 people to make 10 sales. Okay, 300 registrations. It doesn't mean that you need 300 people joining your webinar or the challenge. You need those registrations. So then if 30% show up, you'll have 100 people on that webinar. So 10 would buy. So that's 3% of the registration of the 300. That's how you sort of gauge the numbers. So I think we just done this. Work backwards, how many people you need there. Okay, so 3% of registrations would be your sales target. And then you decide what launch mode. I think we kind of talked about it, depending on the price point, depending how much time, energy you want to put in, and so on and so on. Like, I'm not going to go into too much detail now on this, but decide on the launch timings. Remember, you have a pre-launch time frame, a launch time frame, and a post-launch time frame. So there are 3 phases in a launch, because in pre-launch you are promoting the launch and getting people to some sort of event. You're doing the launch event, and then you have a post-launch follow-up somehow, ideally through reach outs, emails, maybe another event, to just get the sale. because you know that it doesn't end there. When you're closing the challenge or you're closing a webinar, you know that it doesn't end, the work doesn't end there, it actually starts from there. And there's things you need to know about and how to do that. Yeah, so I think prepare a challenge, masterclass, workbooks, obviously matching what you want to sell. I already said that it should be next logical step up from the masterclass or the challenge, and decide on the promo time frame and the mode. So do I want to promo organic? Do I want to utilize Facebook ads, or do I want to do both? Organic actually takes a bit longer, because obviously this is about constantly building a profile and showing up even between launches. Ads, obviously, when you run them the first time, you need to actually get the hang of it. You need to actually see what works, what doesn't work, and that can take a few weeks as well. So start well in advance. Like for example, I'm running video view ads always actually, always have video ads in the background just to capture audiences, basically to just watch a piece of my video and they get to know me, because then I can retarget them, because Facebook already knows they have watched a certain percentage of my video, so I can retarget those people and say, hey, come and join the challenge. So again, ads can be a very long-term strategy, because you need a lot of data points, testing, you need to build your audiences, and you need to season your pixel. So again, it's not as easy to just, okay, I'll just boost a post and then in 3 days I'll do a launch and I have like 100 people there. It just doesn't happen that way. Okay, and then you want to create a comms schedule. So this is everything from registration to reminder emails. Maybe you want to utilize text message service. Seems to be something that I'm getting into much more as well, to remind people. It's a message on their phone, hey, we're starting in 30 minutes. Here's a Zoom link, or get into this group, or here's the link, right? We could use Messenger bot. We need to think about potentially pre-engagement. So when people, you know, as I said, I always have something running, and if that something's not going to be until 3 weeks time, you know, there is a gap between now and 3 weeks, and then they may forget that they have actually registered for this webinar. So you want to maybe put some emails in place to actually continuously nurture those people and build the excitement for the launch as well. You want to have then open cart emails, and maybe during the challenge, or if you are running a challenge, obviously you'll have emails going out every day to send out the replays. And also for the webinar, you want to send out the replay as well, and start the promotion, opening the cart, you know, putting together sales emails and all that kind of stuff. And at the end, once you close your cart, you have maybe a period of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, and you give them a deadline by the time they can enroll or book a call and that kind of stuff, and bonuses and what have you, so that people actually do want to take action. But you can also then have at the end, so once you close the cart, that means, you know, you've given a deadline by, I don't know, by Sunday night, midnight, understand you, and it's only X, so you could actually also sell something else behind that. Does that make sense, Kusha?
I think I lost you in between. It was complete silence. I'm not sure if Jazz and Megan felt the same, or was it my internet? So if you could just probably repeat that 1 or 2 last lines, it would just help us all. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can't remember what my last couple of lines were. It was a lot wrapped up. Basically, no, I just think it's important to have a schedule, so that you know, when you are putting in the effort of doing a launch, that you actually have some things prepared. You need something where people can register. So you do need some sort of software where they can opt in, and you can tell them what this webinar or challenge is all about. And then you need to actually, you know, send them regular emails, pre-launch, during the launch, and post-launch as well. I think that's all I had. Promo materials, I mean, that's probably your patch now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel that even whether it's an evergreen launch, a soft launch, or any kind of launch, or even a first-time launch, you really need to show up, in your, and you need to just present yourself in the best possible manner. So having your branding, having some basic design assets or launch assets is really, really essential. So maybe if you're doing like a pop-up group or a challenge, so you might want to make sure you have your Facebook group banner there. You want to make sure you have your lead page or lead magnet ready. It should be branded. It should have, it should look cohesive with your overall, business. And it should be able to give that kind of, vibe about who you are and, what is it that you really want to convey, to your audiences. So all kinds of promo materials, even if let's say you're doing Facebook ads, you definitely need to have a graphic or an image to go out there, for your advert, which you're posting on Facebook. You are maybe creating a lead magnet or a workbook or a checklist. Again, these are very small, yet critical and crucial assets, which will help your audience to, gain that know, like, and trust factor. So you're launching, which means you're trying to also create that know, like, and trust factor in the minds of your clients. And just the way Sabine said, you already know that the percentage of conversion is 3%. So you don't want to miss out on, 3% just because you're not, your visuals are not striking enough, and your visuals are not able to convey, and blend with your actual product or your actual service. So having a brand, and it could really be something which you could DIY on your own. That's also fine. So like I said, depends on how much you want to invest. So initially you might want to do something on your own through Canva and other free softwares. Going forward, you might want to hire someone, go through the entire branding process, understand how you want to, launch yourself, and how do you want to create an impression in front of your audiences. And then further, maybe you would have like a lot of platforms like ClickFunnels. You have, for example, lead pages. You have your own website where you could probably host your evergreen launch. So then, slowly and gradually, you can pick up platforms which you feel, work best for your launches, and then make sure that they're all cohesive, on brand, and they make you look as a person of authority. And I don't know if you could hear me okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, on and off. I'm not sure if it's on my side or on both sides. Yes, I agree. So I think, yes, you have your own kind of title for the launch. Okay. And you actually, yeah, give it some sort of headline or some sort of something that people can actually learn and sort of do, right? And that's really, right, really attractive for people to actually wanting to come along. So that's really important that you actually put that out there as part of, or as the sort of pre sort of preparation for your launch.
I mean, I can just also say here, that when people have their sales pages, so even your sales pages, the color combinations which you're choosing, the call to action button, what's the color that you're choosing over there? Because it's all the psychology and it's the way people connect with your, with your sales page, even when they're going through it. You want to make sure that you are navigating them in the right manner with the right text placement, with the right images, with the right color combinations. It shouldn't be too much, cluttered. It should not have too many colors also over there. And it should not be like you're choosing multiple, font types. Like if you notice, for example, this particular PowerPoint slide, it just has one standard font. It just has basic two colors or maximum three primary colors, and the rest is like a neutral colors. So these are very, very small things which can make or break an impression in front of your audiences. And like I said, people are making an effort. There are so many people out there, and even Sabine is doing the same, in her academy. She's helping you to understand, what should be the title of your program, what should be the tagline, what should be the heading all about. How should your entire sales page even flow? So, what should come first, and then next, and then thereafter? How important is the entire content which you will add in your sales page? Because as much as we hate, working on it and going through it, it is a very, very important role. And all these launch assets which I just shared, they are definitely important when you are doing a launch. Yeah.
Thank you, Kusha. Yeah, so we come to an end now, and as you can see, there's so many things you need to think about when it comes to preparing, doing your launches, and also post-launching. And that's where a lot of women in business are really tripping up because they're doing something, it hasn't worked, and that's where the mindset comes in as well, isn't it? And it's like, oh my gosh, I failed. My launch has failed. And so what we do is we would love to speak to you if you are in a situation where you would love to create some launches. We have the Quantum Growth Academy, which covers business strategy, technology, and mindset. And Kusha, just explain a little bit about the academy. I have a knock on the door.
Okay, so the Growth Academy is where, Sabine takes you through the entire 9-step roadmap. And this 9-step roadmap is going to help you to, kickstart your business from start to finish. Or it could also be about, let's say, if you're, somewhere in between, maybe you've already started your business and you plan to launch a new program. Then also Quantum Growth Academy is the place where, you go through the entire 9-step roadmap. We take you through the entire process of creating your product, understanding the tech, platforms, helping you to identify the correct pricing for your programs. And not only that, how is it that you need to present it? How do you, actually launch it? What is the research that needs to be done? So I'm sure there is an entire 9-step roadmap which Sabine can share, but that's exactly what happens in there.
Exactly, and we have other programs as well which just do certain focus areas, but launching is definitely a big thing in the Quantum Growth Academy, as well as technology. And Kusha is in there working with our students on the branding and making sure all of the things actually tie in together. And yeah, I mean, just hop on a call. There's a link there, a bit.ly link that you can just put in and select a time and a day when suitable, and let's have a conversation. We have different programs for different budgets, from self-study to a done-for-you service as well. So all kinds of different ranges. But really, we are combining mindset with business strategy and technology, and making sure that our students actually creating their offers, they're doing all the market research, and making sure they're coming out with an offer that really converts. We help them put the technology together and becoming visible online and creating, their building a profile, creating the following. And also we help generate leads with Facebook ads, and of course also organic and growing the groups. And what else? Yeah, launching. We had all of that, pretty much all the different puzzle pieces. We bring it all together in the Quantum Growth Academy. I'm very, very excited to to potentially speaking to some of you, might be of interest. And any last words, Kusha, about launching, and what have you found, or any last tips before we have
Well, the only last tip, I would give is, if you're struggling with it, hire us, get in touch with us, because we want to make sure your launches are easy and you're able to achieve your goals and targets that you have for 2021. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, entrepreneurship can be quite lonely, and I've done a lot of DIY options myself and trying to piecemeal it together, and it has been a struggle. And yeah, when I had a mentor, it just worked really much better because I had the feedback. I knew what wasn't working, and I also had the accountability and started to have the belief again that I could go up and do it all over again and keep going. I think, yeah, that's what I would say, is have someone who can really help you when things are tough and not working, in other words. Okay, so thank you so much. And that's our stuff.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.